Welcome to Fortune Forecast. I am Daisy, your hostess, and you are in my book playlist. We are now going through the book titled The Shortcut Regeneration Through Fasting by Dr. Julia Seton, published in 1929 by the XOXO Publishing Company, and it is in the public domain. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm glad you found me. And to our Fortune community, do you like what we have here? I hope so. Have you ever thought about getting a new body, getting a new face? Did you think that it could be as easy as fasting? Well, those secrets are revealed in this book. And I've said before, the author was a doctor, and if you are thinking about practicing any of these, please do check with your doctor before you start any of the practices here. Like I mentioned, I've done a 5-day water fast, and boy, at the end of that journey, my senses were so acute. If I can tell you, the colors were more radiant, the sounds were more brighter, the smells were just amazing. And coming out of that, I had to reintroduce myself gradually, and that was also an experience. So this seems very doable. I'm really excited about giving this a go. And just like I did with my previous 5-day water fast, I blogged about it. I'll be writing this one too. So if you want to check out, I'll leave it in the description, the link where I blogged about my water fast and my experience with that. So let's get started, jumping in to Chapter 11, The Mystical Breath, Instructions for Breathing. Stand erect. Take a long, deep breath. Inhale through the nostrils and exhale through the mouth. Pass the breath slowly over the lips while they are puckered, as if for whistling, but passing them without a sound. Continue this exercise for 5 or 10 minutes. Then, empty the lungs completely through long exhalations, getting rid of all the residual air possible. Take very shallow inspirations and continue emptying the lungs for 5 or 10 minutes until there is a violent air hunger established. Then slowly fill the lungs again to a tension capacity, in breathing through the nostrils. Close the lips firmly. Send the breath by conscious thought out through the top of the head. Inhale again. Send it out through the eyes. Inhale. Send it out through the back of the head, the throat, the front, and back. Inhale again. Send it through the solar center, then the pelvic center. Then breathe it through each limb to the toes, then through each arm, then up and down the spine, inside and out like a spray. This is breath as force and is the mystical regenerator. The mental attitude is a great factor in this part of the breath. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. One must feel himself inside his own body, breathing his own breath out through his flesh, just as he would if his face were covered and he was forced to breathe the breath through a thick veil. This is true regenerative power. It is the breath of the Almighty that giveth us life. This breath gives us life because it fans to a radiant flame the latent fires within the being. The temple fires of the ancients were only this living fire from within, which is the fire that consumeth not, yet transmutes the baser metals into pure gold. With this divine alchemy, the Illuminatus melts out the coarser substance and keeps the temple fires forever burning beneath his cauldron of immaculate flesh. Now to summarize quickly. First, the emptying of the chalice, the lungs. Then long, deep, physical breath until the bloodstream of the body carries a current of crimson substance charged with the radioactive energy of the higher vibration. Then the breath held in, yet driven out through the body by an iron will force from behind, which is one with the pressure of the universal energy. When this exercise is correctly followed, there will come a moment when the muscle, bone, brain, spinal cord, and every tissue of the body will glow and tingle with an energy before unknown, while the cell nuclei have changed into shimmering electrons, holding in their centers the spark divine. Then, gathering together inside the pulsing dynamo called the body, sealing all escapes like a hermetically sealed casket, this mighty force will escape through the tiny apertures of the cell body. Man is not flesh, he is fire, and at his center burns the flame from whence he came. And as a smoldering fire burns its way beneath the surface of a field until at last it bursts forth in the blaze of a flaming heat, just so the flesh is molten, cleansed, purified, exalted. Within this wall of flesh, like a fire in an iron vault, this conflagration burns itself to white ashes and expires in the intensity of its own heat, taking with it the waste products in the flesh. This is the Illuminati law of regeneration, and the physical body that is born from the funeral pyre of the dead flesh can never know a tomorrow of pain. Its day of content and peace is eternal. While the breath is being intensified, the muscular system must be kept en rapport with the rising vibration, and this is accomplished through tensing. There is just one instruction needed for the initiate here, and that is tense, 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 release your muscles. As you release your breath and tense, tense again and again. The tense muscle is the vibrant one, and with this new activity, the flesh body keeps pace with the fires of the breath within, and the release floods the whole body with transmuted product of breath, which is force. Bring every muscle in the body, deep and superficial, under the control of the will. Twist, turn, breathe, tense, until like a contortionist, every intelligence within your body springs spontaneously to your command. The awakened, eager muscular system casts off at once all that is clogging response. And used muscle cannot deposit fat, neither can it become bound and inert in its sheath. With this call, the muscle juice myosin reconstructs itself, lubricating the whole internal flesh, while the skin slides again over every muscle and becomes a normal excretory channel, covering, protecting, and feeding the tissue beneath. There is no exotic exercise that will accomplish what this esoteric one of breath and tensing will. It frees the body, exalts the mind, restores healthy emotions, rejuvenates the whole being, while it lets the higher concept centers become unclouded to receive transcendental revelation. Fasting, breathing, thinking, tensing. This is the sunrise over our new world. It wipes the dullness of our old dead cells of our spiritual horizon like mists from glass, and we look out, clear-eyed, over a new kingdom which our own inspired wisdom has conquered. End of chapter 11. Stay right here with me as we move on now to chapter 12. Supra consciousness. Sight, hearing, taste, touch, smell. When we take the shortcut of fasting, we not only rearrange our whole being, but we rearrange our position in the great universal etheric vibrations. We give ourselves a new place in our own firmament and throw around us new expressions of cosmic life with which we must again normally connect. We find new gifts on our path toward rightness, and these new gifts are accentuation and intensification of all our human senses: sight, hearing, taste, touch, and smell awaken with a new, thrilling sense of finer use, becoming merged into a vivid new sensation, which is a blend of all. All senses are used, not disused, but used in a sort of overtone of function which perceives without contact and translates with the deeper perception of the essence sense rather than the crude extracts of the old senses. Where others see only empty space and hear no sound and find no perfume, the Illuminatus, rarefied with his fast, sees colors and visions, hears voices, and merges himself with the music of the spheres in entrancing sounds. The faster does not go far in the search of the secrets of himself before he comes face to face with the unrevealed secrets of the world in which he lives, secrets sealed to the masses but revealed to him, because he has pushed his mind behind the veil of matter in which the common senses had shut him. In the very beginning, in this search for wisdom, he comes to a world of color and sound. He finds these so wonderful that they bewitch his senses. The color sinks him into introspection, while the sound either soothes him or jars him into more and more mystery. When fasting has opened his vision to the color scheme of the universe, and his ears to its wonderful harmony, he must then pass, by higher law, into the added peace, power, and usefulness which these gifts bring him. It is a perfectly natural thing for the Illuminati to see colors and hear the vibrations of their life song. Thousands are born just on the edge of these deep etheric vibrations. Clairvoyance and clairaudience are just natural expressions of these intensified states of mind and body. They are not the gifts of God to some special saint or seer, but are the gifts man gives to himself through the normal use of the finer senses already in his possession. Form, color, sound. This is the trinity of life. Every blade of grass gives off its own keynote, or life song, as a tuning fork gives out its notes. Every mineral, animal, or man, everything sings its own song of life. The metaphysician only hears, but does not understand. The occultist hears, sees, and studies all these laws, but they operate on him, not he on them. The Illuminatus sees, knows, and operates all these laws, blending them into one grand whole, from which he writes the symphony of his own life. Within this extension of vision and sense, there comes the wonder of the sense of smell, and the Illuminatus detects everywhere the auric smell of all things. He can speak as one who speaks with authority, even before he has either seen or heard. He can walk blindfolded in the most dangerous levels, be surrounded with the beasts of the human plane, and yet, with an unerring subtlety, his finer sense of smell will open the truth for him and become the book of wisdom from which he can read the directions of the trail. Everyone carries with him, in his aura, the finer etheric vibrations of his life. And these, translated into smell, reveal his place in the scheme of all things. The drunkard, the prostitute, the thief, the liar, the glutton, the murderer at heart, all have the odor of their own vibration, and no matter how beautiful they may appear externally, no matter how much they deceive the uninitiated. The Illuminatus can stand before them, or across the room, or even with a wall between, and by the almost imperceptible perception of his higher sense of smell, can gain the truth of their soul position. It has not entered into the heart of man to conceive of the glories that are prepared for those who love the Lord. Law. The higher law of understanding is always a lamp to his feet. The wonderful senses of our physical body are linked with the wisdom of the universe. And through these, the higher consciousness leads, directs, and inspires the human heart. Sight, hearing, taste, touch, smell. These together form the lifeline for the whole human race. Blessed indeed is he who, turning inward for his light, finds that intensified union of all these senses which can lead him fearlessly along the sharpest precipice of life. Then thrice blessed is he when, turning into the world around him, he can use these to help humanity onto higher mastery of its environment and itself. This consciousness attained by taking the shortcut makes for physical, mental, and emotional everlasting efficiency. Those who bring it to bear upon human conditions heal themselves and others. They change their environment and in turn a lamp to the feet of the struggling. They help all to get health, wealth, love, and success, not tomorrow nor next year, but here and now. These are the real magicians, but men unthinkingly call them financiers, builders, promoters, etc. Their thoughts, wished out into form, make a fit place for the weaker multitude to live in, and they are always the humanitarians giving their life to the world. End of chapter 12. Stay with me, because there's still more to come. Right here, we'll go on now to chapter 13. The Superman. Before we start to fast, we ask why we should fast, and after we have fulfilled all the laws of the shortcut, we have a right to demand that we shall have, as a permanent possession, some things that are worthwhile. We have followed for an ultimate good, and we demand that the end shall justify the means. The human mind is so constituted that no effort, sacrifice, or endurance is too great if it brings the desired end and aim. So the initiate may well ask, what is in all this for me? What is the complete reward? What do I get to recompense me for the many human indulgences I am obliged to pass up in my search for the higher good? There is pleasure in self-indulgence, that one cannot deny. And there is hard discipline in this ceaseless round of self-denial and self-education. The initiate will go on to accomplishment if he can have positive proof of the certainty of perfect fulfillment at the end. These proofs can be given and are given him. He can find them in song and story. History itself everywhere stands laden with the gifts of this new world. The final gift to the one who faints not is divine revelation. With this shortcut, one becomes a revelator, and he has the light of higher wisdom over his path. The Master said, "He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness. He shall have the light of life." And those who develop this consciousness within escape the dark miasma-laden swamps of human ignorance and walk in a light that is not only over all, but in all. The mind of the Illuminatus is ever the open doorway between heaven and earth through which genius passes. His plus consciousness contacts with planes of intelligence unknown to the simple multitudes. He moves upon the same levels as his kind, but is above and beyond them in thought and perception. He eludes by his own revelation and greatness the measuring power and the submerging pull of the common crowd. The common man can only catch a glimpse of the true light of revelation. The plus man lives it, is it, and through being this, he can help the whole world. Through fasting, breathing, thinking, feeling, being, we become individualized gods on this planet and can enter the eternal orders of health, wealth, love, and service. Then, like a mighty magnet, draw others into these orders. Those who pay the price of purification, discipline which the shortcut demands, will find as their ultimate possession and reward a new consciousness which embodies in superhuman powers. Nothing in the common walks of life can interfere with the progress of this Illuminati. Limitation is unknown to them. They simply absorb or dissolve the puny human laws which bind and hold the ordinary raceman by meeting them with a perception which finds the higher laws. With the higher laws of life, they enter naturally into a new order of possession so great, so limitless, so free, that it can only be called divine. They come to grief and bid it pass to joy. Their touch unbinds the blinding bands of pain. The soul finds happiness without alloy. They turn all seeming loss to greater gain. This is the fulfillment of the promises, and by their deliberate appeal to the power of higher knowing and their unchanging response to higher discipline, they command and accomplish all. The plus man does not separate himself from his kind. He is only more closely identified with everything. His exiled human heart has only lost its life on a lower plane to find it on new levels of living. He is now at home on the bosom of reality. He can speak from the wisdom of the all, merged in the all, the parts made perfect in the whole. The true growth of the human soul is painless, and knowing this, he turns his transcendental consciousness upon his flesh and heals it. Purified by his long fast, the self-consciousness of his body accepts the new invitation to peace and freedom. Every cell intelligence awakens to the new call, and night and day works out triumphantly the plus body. Then, standing in the midst of the world of intelligence, himself a creator, a receiver, a distributor, and an unfolder, he builds his own material world and says, "Let there be light over his new universe." He is universal intelligence, substance, and force. He knows that he must manifest his own form, and that, in order to manifest it, he must command the divine intelligence around him. By a conscious fling of mentation, then, he speaks his own desire into atomic mind of matter, and from empty, formless space, cosmic consciousness appears in forms of wealth, success, power, freedom, anything he desires. There is concerted action between the atomic mind of substance and the mind of the illumined. They become the supreme creator and director of their own pathway through life, and through contact with the higher levels of intelligence, their revelation enables them to be a redeemer of the race. Nations may come and go, wax strong and perish into nothingness, but still higher than the changing law of time and ignorance, there will always be the voice of the eternal truth, speaking its message into the minds of illumined men. Amid the world throng, there will always be those who, pushed by the power of glorified conviction, will lift their life to the level of the universal life, so that from the shores of infinite wisdom, great waves of truth, illumination, and revelation will beat in upon them. Above all the seeming limitations of our human consciousness and our limited understanding, revelation and prophecy will sweep into the soul when we have fulfilled the law and uplift our mind to a great endeavor. The voice of the infinite is calling us today, just as it has called to men of all races throughout all time. And as soon as the human mind looks up and seeks and asks, it finds. The answer is already written, waiting for that supreme crest in race consciousness when, like a mountain peak, the rising intelligence unites with its source. In the everyday life, we must all pass between the world of sense and the world of revelation. The novitiate and the initiate are side by side, and each takes his place in and works with the power of his own kingdom, and through this reaches complete illumination. Whenever or wherever the soul awakens to a great thirst for a higher wisdom, it overcomes the limitations of the finite laws and counts as naught the self-culture which these higher possessions demand of it. This then is the shortcut, the pathway of the plus man, the new world of the Illuminati. It is filled with eternal possessions, and any life, no matter where it may be in the lesser pathways or the broad, white ways of human ignorance, can find this straight and narrow path and build itself away from the lowlands of human reality into a new world of peace. Crowned then with the joy of deeper conquest which we have won through unfaltering allegiance to the laws of the shortcut, we hold in our hands the key to the secrets of absolute creation. The path began by awakening within the self an embryonic consciousness of divine reality, and it ends with reality coming forth not from some strange, far off outside world of conjecture, but gently and surely from the very heart of life within our own being. From our own center, life's perfect flower of divine realization has budded, bloomed, and blossomed. We are no longer under law of the race consciousness, but under the grace of divine potentialities and possibilities. End of chapter 13, and the end of the reading of the book titled The Shortcut, Regeneration Through Fasting by Dr. Julia Seton. Hopefully you have enjoyed this. Be blessed.